So and the account bears out. They fled. They were cowards. They were scared. No confidence. Crushed, despairing, doubting. They were confused. They were depressed. All these it's not a matter of faith. This is there. You cannot get around it. That's what happened. Now let's construct that. When he came in on Palm Sunday, everybody was shouting. They were hailing him. The disciples say, this is going to be Mashiach. He's going to become king. Israel's going to become the head of nations finally. Rome is going to be out. Thursday night, Passover, Mount of Olives. Suddenly the temple guards come, arrest him. One of them, only one, everybody flees, but one stays. He fled, but he stays a little behind. He follows him. He says, I'm going to be the one who never denies you, Lord. Of all these, they will, but not me. I'm courageous, and I am faithful, not them, but I am. So he follows behind them, the one we know as who was called Kepha, Petros, Peter, Shimon. He goes behind them, and what does it say as he goes? In Matthew 26:68, it says, they come to him as they're trying him and beating him, and they say to Peter, aren't you with him? And he says, no, I'm not with him. But don't you know him? You speak with a Galilean accent. We know that. He says, no, I don't even know the man. They said, no, we think you are with him. You're one of his. He says, and he starts cursing. It says and what that means is he's calling down curses from heaven on himself. He's saying, if I'm lying, I'll be struck down. I'm cursed, but I don't even know the man. And he looks and he sees him. He looks at him, and Peter remembers the words. He said, even you will deny me, Peter. And so he goes out and he weeps. The movement is crushed. A crown of thorns is put on his head. Messiah is stripped of his clothes. He looks pathetic. He is beaten. He is carrying the cross beams through the streets, too weak. They mock him. Hey, Mashiach, you're going to save Israel, huh? They take him up to Golgotha. They strip him of his clothes. He is near naked. They put him on the beams. The Roman soldiers pound the nail into his wrist, his hands through his feet. In agony, he's lifted up on the execution stake with other criminals, bleeding to death, gasping for air, suffocating. The disciples watch from a distance, those who were even brave enough to go even near. Their hope is pathetic now, helpless, dying on the cross. The women who loved him are weeping as he dies. They thought he was the radiance of God's presence on earth, Messiah, of Israel. The hopes are crushed, and finally, if they had any last hope that anything could happen, a miracle, his eyes close. He breathes his last. It's over. The body is taken down, not by the 12, but by those who were there. The women accompany him, half naked. He is brought to the tomb. His corpse is there. They put him in a tomb. The stone is rolled up against the tomb. It's over. The dream is over. The hope is over. Everything is over. The movement's over. Miriam of Migdal, Mary Magdalene, just stays there staring at the tomb. Everything goes on in Jerusalem. They have Passover. It's the Sabbath. Everybody goes inside to celebrate, but she can't move. She just sits there and stares at the tomb. She doesn't want to leave him, even though he's dead. She'd rather be with him who is dead than anyone else who is living. Her faith goes beyond the tomb. I won't even say her faith, her loyalty does. She thinks it's over, but she still knows that was the only way she ever knew. Everything fell apart violently in a rush of events. One of the 12, even one of the movement, was a betrayer. That's how bad the movement is now. One of them betrayed. It wasn't from the outside, it was from the inside. Yehuda, Judas. Now he goes off and he hangs himself. My God, do you imagine what this is? Imagine how incredibly heavy and bitter and hopeless and gloomy it is. And Thomas, the other disciple, he doubts the whole thing. The rest are in hiding, scared, confused. One of them says of some of his followers, it says, we were hoping he was the one who would redeem Israel. We were hoping, but what was left now? They can't go on because it wasn't based on philosophy. It was based on him. It was based on a hope of God. It was based on the Son of God coming down, a bit of God's love. Now God's love is dead. It's over everything he said. It seems like it's all a lie. Historically, sociologically, anthropologically, ideologically, it is, however you look at it, it is gone. It's crushed, disillusioned, broken. There's no way this thing is going to go on. 11 men, a number of women broken Friday night. The sun goes down, the Sabbath lights throughout Jerusalem, and then comes the Sabbath. They stay in hiding. They're afraid if they go out, they're going to get killed. They're not even of Jerusalem. They're Galileans, and they're in a hostile environment now. They probably want to go home, want to sleep, can't sleep, weeping, trying to console each other, trying not to be totally crushed in everything. The first day of mourning. Imagine you lost a loved one. The first day of mourning. Some of you have the first day. Oh my God. Not only for one person, but for their whole entire faith in God. It's all looking as dead. This is not debatable. This is what happened. Absolutely. Doesn't matter. Historical happened. The chances are we would never hear about them. The chances are that would have been the end. There is no way this thing could have survived. But, important word, but something happened. Something happened. In high school, we learned algebra, some of us. I used to sleep through it, but some of us learned. And what you do in algebra is you search for x. X is the thing that makes sense of the other side of the equation. The x, you got to find out what that x is to make that thing equal that. There's x. 2 plus x equals 4. Well, we know it takes 2 to put the x in, so x is 2. X, 1 plus x equals 100. Well, we know it takes 99 to do that, to be that x. So Friday night, Saturday, we have a historical situation, and we have a totally crushed, demoralized, depressed, in mourning movement. That's the equation on one side. But something happens. And the result of what that something was is the greatest movement the world has ever known. The result is of something that happened between Friday night and Sunday is the most life-changing power that has ever touched the history of this world. The most radical movement and power the world has ever known. What was it? How do you get a crushed, broken, finished movement on one side and the power to overcome the world on the other? What happened between Friday night and Sunday morning? What is X? Something. What is X? Something changed. In fact, it not only changed the world, it divided the calendar. It wasn't Bethlehem, it was Jerusalem that divided the calendar. That's what did it. What is the X factor? Well, first of all, we have something. We have what they bore witness to. They said it. If it ended there, if it didn't happen, it wouldn't happen. They have a gospel. They have something that's called the good news. What is that good news? They say, we are not crushed. We, in fact, are more alive and more on fire than we have ever been because something happened. What is it? The gospel. What is it? Mark wrote his gospel linked to Peter. Matthew, Mattathiah, wrote his gospel, a tax gatherer who was an eyewitness. Yochanan, John, wrote another, he was an eyewitness. Shimon Peter wrote and Yaakov, James, was the brother of Messiah. All of them, except maybe Mark, had first-hand accounts. They were there. They penned it. And then you got Luke, who wasn't first-hand, but he spoke to all the people around and said, tell me what happened. And by their very existence, you have a testimony of something. But there's another problem. Every scenario that tries to explain away the empty tomb never works. From the year 30 to the year 2007, it all ends up being ridiculous. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because if the body was in the tomb, it couldn't have happened. Because all the Sanhedrin would have to do is say, well, you got a movement? Let's show you. We're going to go to the tomb. Here it is. It's over. Which means that no way on earth, by any historical account, could the body have been in the tomb. No way, because they would have ended it right there. So if the body was not in the tomb, who made the tomb empty?